Good evening. Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening.
Thank you all for joining for this CPD. Dr. Brifo, good evening. Good evening.
Yes.
Good evening.
Chair, good evening.
Thank you all for joining. This is a continuation of the CPD that we had about 3 weeks ago on ethics, and it is brought to you by Ghana Medical Association. It's a free CPD by Ghana Medical Association. And we all realized that we had a lot of things to talk about the other time. We had a lot of questions that we couldn't even answer. And also there was one very important part of this CPD that we couldn't fulfill. So we decided we're going to have the second part of the CPD. And this is all about filling of the police form. I'm sure every doctor in this country has had one or two issues about the police form that we are supposed to fill when a patient comes to the hospital with it. One of the problems is how much are we supposed to collect? What are we supposed to do? What is the information that we are allowed to put on and on and on and on? There has been issues everywhere. We're supposed to even sign the police form. So we decided that it is a very important CPD that we all needed to have and understand. And that is the reason why we are having the second part of the ethics CPD. And today in our midst to come and talk about the police form is Superintendent of Police, Superintendent of Police Sylvester Asari. But even before he comes, I would like one of us to pray before we start the program. So can any of the panelists members give us an opening prayer? Then we can start. Sorry.
All right. Chair, let me give the prayer.
Okay, perfect.
Our Lord and Master Jesus, we thank you for thank you for such a wonderful day. Lord, as we are about to commence our program, commit every one of us into your hands. Lord, take control, especially the speaker. Let him give us what is necessary for our medical practice in the name of Jesus.
Amen. So before we invite the speaker, I would want to say that this CPD again is brought to you by Ghana Medical Association, and is a committee that did the work. So all our committee members are on. Dr. Aisha, Dr. Hammond, Dr. Brefo, Dr. Conde, and our chairman, Dr. Apieje, is also on. And I'm sure the Ghana Medical Association president and the executive committee members are all on. And as we are closing the program, we'll let them say one or two words. But for now, I would want to introduce the speaker, who is in a person of Superintendent of Police Sylvester Asari Esquire. He's a policeman. He has been a policeman since the year 2000. I mean, his profile is so rich into investigations, peacekeeping. He's also a lawyer. And we know that to be able to understand this topic, we couldn't have chosen any other person than Superintendent of Police Sylvester Asari Esquire to come and give us this, come and explain to us how we are supposed to fill this important form, which is the police form. So without saying much, I would want to welcome Superintendent of Police Sylvester Asari Esquire to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Crystal, and good evening to all members on the platform.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of you. And indeed, it is an important discussion that as medical community and the police community, and as far as the court community is concerned, we should be able to have this discussion at least so that we can be on the same page, which is, I believe, is long overdue, but it's better late than never. Yeah, first of all, I want to share some few slides with members so that we get to know, follow certain things that we want to talk about. Okay. And can I have the video start? The video. Good. So from my screen. Hello, dog. Hello, dog.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Sylvester.
Hello.
Yeah, from my
we
screen.
can hear you, please.
Yes, I'm seeing an indication that the host has stopped my my camera or my video.
Really?
So if the host can connect my video.
Bernard. Bernard, can you please work on that for us?
Okay. I'm working on it.
So whilst waiting, whilst working on the video, can I please say something that colleagues, if you can please put your questions in the Q&A section.
Do you know Flamingo paint has superior properties than any other paint brand of
Bernard.
Listen, when you take one bucket of paint, it's equal to 7.
Wow. Bernard, are you please seeing to the recording, the video?
I'm seeing to it, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So whilst waiting for the video to start, I would plead with you that you put your questions in the Q&A section. I know that Dr. Mrs. Planju will also be on the platform and she would answer some of the questions. We're trying to get a registrar to come on this second part, but unfortunately we couldn't get in. So we'll try as much as possible to answer the questions that we'll be able to answer. Even as you put it on the Q&A section, we'll read it out and try and get the answers. So please take notes. Thank you. Kasaris, if you are not involved in the video, can you please go to the Q&A side because questions have started coming. If there's any way you can take the answers in because there are some questions there and I think there are questions that you would have to answer. So whilst waiting, if you can please go there. Thank you.
Okay. Very well.
Thank you.
Are doctors in military uniform allowed to sign police medical form? The answer is yes.
Okay.
Because the form is requested to be signed by registered medical practitioners or doctors working with a government hospital. So once you are with 7, whether in uniform or not, you are required, you can sign. The second question I'm saying is that it is written that the medical officer is to be paid 2 cedi and some pesos at the office where document will be submitted. Yes, that is what is captured on one of the medical forms, particularly the form 98A, which I will demonstrate. I will show 98A, the platform, very soon. 3, medical practitioners, meaning nurse and PAs, can sign. That is the question that we want to answer, especially the PAs and the nurses. The regulator will need to help us answer.
Okay.
Yes, I think I've been connected now.
Okay, so thank you very much. We can now start.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good. So the business of the day, we are talking about the police forms. And as part of the ethical considerations of the medical practice, we, the police, always expect that, at least for the purpose of crime investigation and in the purpose of investigating certain offenses, we require the medical officer to assist us, or the medical community to assist us. How do we call for this assistance? For instance, in issues of injury, assault, motor traffic accident. Under these circumstances, and in some cases, inquest, where the coroner orders or directs a pathologist to do ABCD, i.e., by wanting to know the cause of death, whether natural or unnatural. And if it's unnatural, it states the cause and the extent of how it was occurred or happened. Good. So before we proceed, we believe that the medical community and the police community knows that the police forms are part of the medical, what you call the medical legal document. And generally, there are certain types that we normally deal with the medical community when it comes to the forms. And these forms, we call them in police community, we have one form called the General Medical Form, which is CID Form 98. I will soon show it on the screen. We also have a particular form, which is called Police Medical Form. It's heading Police Medical Form. Though they are all medical forms, but we have one is general and one is specific. The CID Form 98, we title it Police Medical Form. We also have what we call the Coroner's Form. That is CID Form 83. These are basic forms that we use as far as the medical relationship with your community is concerned. First of all, let me take the CID Form 98A. The screen is CID Form 98A. This is the common form known to the hospital community or the medical community. And we believe that every registered practitioner or every MO has ever cited this form and signed before. This is where we have the issue. This form is generally issued to persons of maybe minor injury, minor cases, for instance, assault, bruises, and those things. We use this particular form. And this particular form, if you look at the screen, the form is required to be signed by a medical officer. And you and I know who is a medical officer. The form did not say that it should be signed or it should be sent to a nurse. It said a medical officer. And within your community, you know who is a medical officer. When a patient or a victim or a complainant reported a case of assault or injury to the police, as part of investigation, will issue this particular form to the victim or patient or complainant to be sent to hospital. you can see that the medical officer may be Kolebu Teaching Hospital, medical officer, 37 Military Hospital, medical officer, Rich, medical officer, Police Hospital. You will please examine and report on the case of, then we put the patient, the victim, the complainant name there. For the purpose of the police, the complainant or the victim has alleged that he or she has been assaulted. So we state in brief what the complainant or the victim or the patient that told the police. We then forward it to your outfit. And if you look at the beneath the form, before where it's written medical officer's report, or before the CID form 98A, we have some inscription there. What does it say? A fee of 2 cedi 10 pesos will be paid to the registered medical practitioner other than a government officer, i.e. other than government hospital. That is what they're referring to. And in effect, they are saying that if the person who examined the patient is from a government hospital, police, 37 Kolebu, in effect, that's what they are saying, that you are not supposed to pay. But the question is that what is happening today? The answer is no. Registered medical practitioner, meaning that if you send it to private hospital, you're supposed to pay. But when you pay, you're supposed to collect that money. The patient is supposed to collect that money from the officer in charge of the police station that issued the form. But the challenge we have, which soon we'll be talking about, includes where the form, the patients have been attended to, the form was not returned to the police from a government hospital or a government facility. The reason be that the patient has not paid anything. The back of CID form 98A is plain like what is on the screen. Medical officer's report. This is where we will require you to submit a report of your examination. Tell us everything about the patient. Medically, he reported to you an assault or beating, whatever. So after your examination, I believe the medical officers, you know what you do. But we want a comprehensive report of your examination. Obviously, we are illiterate when it comes to your field. So as illiterate as we are, we expect that you give us a report, a comprehensive report that a lay person can easily appreciate it. A lay person includes the police officer and the judge. On the face of it, we should be able to read the report and understand it. This requires that you give us a detail and stop. At times, you see some of the reports, they give you more or less like acronyms. Those acronyms does not help our investigation because the police officer, the investigator, is supposed to submit or produce an excerpt of your report in his investigation or the brief facts that he or she will be sent to court. He doesn't understand all those things that the medical officer has written. How do you go ahead? So meaning the police officer will only file the medical report without commenting on it. We also appreciate that some medical officers or some doctors do the needful by breaking it down for us to appreciate it. And that is what we want. It's easy for us to appreciate. It's easy for the court to appreciate. That is CID form 98A for you. We have the next form being the general medical form, CID form 98 without A. The first one is with capital A. This one is without A. We have section A, that is the front page. This is like a booklet, like examination questions, yes, the question sheet or the answer booklet. It looks like this, if officers can see that. It's like an answer booklet. We have the front page, which is section A. we have the inner page that is right behind the front page. It's a plain area with the inscription, the medical officer's report. Please write clearly. It's indicated that kindly write clearly. We want to see clear inscription, write clearly. The next page has a lot of boxes and questionnaire there to answer by the medical officer. Behind that, we have what we call anatomy, sketch of the human body, if it requires, according to your examination. And normally we issue this Form 98 without the capital A for serious injuries like motor traffic offenses where death has occurred or serious fractures. In fact, we mean major accidents or fatal motor traffic accidents. That is why it's normally issued, because of the cost of the printing and the information required from the doctor may be different from the information required in cases of assault. So you see the Form 98 requires a lot to be done by the medical officer. There are so many boxes, there are so many questions. We have about 26 questions or boxes for the doctor to answer or tick in accordance with the examination he or she has conducted. This is back as I showed you. This is some of the questions you are supposed to answer as an officer for us. A lot over there. Include the age of the victim or the patient, the time he arrived at the hospital, the time you finished your examination, prior to your examination, what did you see? Post your examination, what did you see? A whole lot of information is required of you as a doctor. The next form we want to talk about is the inquest form. That is CID Form 83, as I indicated earlier. CID Form 83 is an inquest form, where inquest simply means that when somebody died and we suspect that the person died of an unnatural death, even somebody died at the hospital within 24 hours, will require an inquest to be conducted, depending on the circumstances. This inquest form will be filled by the police officer, sent to the coroner, being the district magistrate in charge of a particular district, who will then direct the pathologist to conduct certain examination based on the complaint or the information given to the coroner. So in law, when somebody dies and we suspect unnatural death, we report or we inform the coroner in accordance with law. The coroner also directs the pathologist, being the member of your community, to conduct certain examinations, after which the coroner or the pathologist will then report back to the coroner. Then the police will take it over from there. This is the back of the coroner's form, CID Form 83. Now, we want to find out these forms, the applicable laws that regulates the conduct of the forms. Apart from the Police Service Act, apart from the Police Service Instructions, we have what we call the Evidence Act. We have what we call the Coroner's Act, which regulates the conduct of the coroner's action, including the pathologist. Then let's look at the coroner, as I've indicated, is officer in charge of a particular district, that is the magistrate. We do not normally have challenge with the coroners, especially the pathologist, except the delay. And in few cases, very few cases, we do not get a proper description of the issue unless the pathologist himself mounts the box. I've indicated that we issue to assault victims, road traffic accident victims, is issued to victims to attend hospital for a precise account of the injury sustained during the accident or assault, or even rape. Normally, we issue them in duplicate, meaning that one goes to the hospital, which we expect that one should stay with the patient file or folder. One should be given to the patient, to be sent to be given to the police officer. Should be signed by a registered medical practitioner, or should be sent to the government hospital. I want to talk about the legal effect before I go and talk about the challenges we expect that at least by the end of this business today, my brothers and sisters out there will help us to solve. What is the legal effect of this particular document? The legal effect is part or pieces a part of the evidence the police submits before the court or adduce before the court. In the case of defilement, in the case of rape, in the case of assault, in the case of causing harm, that is bodily harm, in the case of motor traffic accident, we require this document to back our investigation. Indeed, we are incompetent to speak to medical issues when it comes to the degree of the injury, what is the nature of the injury, what is it at all, what is the effect on the human body. Then we require the doctors to come in. But the document itself, what is the legal effect? And the doctor is seen, according to the Evidence Act, the doctor's report is an expert opinion to assist the court to make a determination. The expert opinion that the court expects from a medical officer, if you give that opinion to the court, the question is the court bound by that opinion? The answer is no. But we expect that the court expects that at least an expert should come in to help the court make a determination. There's an allegation of rape. There is an allegation of defilement. And it is alleged that the patient or the victim, prior to the alleged rape and defilement, he was a virgin. The court do not have the eyes to see who is a virgin. The police do not have the eyes to see or the expertise to determine who is a virgin. Because virgins do not have a signpost. So we expect experts like your good self to tell us whether or not there has been a penetration, if indeed the person is a virgin. What harm did the penetration cause? To what extent did the penetration go? To how far? You know your terminologies, you know what you're supposed to give to us. You will do all those calculations and measurements and give to us. It will aid the court to know the extent of the penetration, if any, the extent of the injury, if any, the extent of the harm, if any, because it's an opinion, it's an assumed fact. An assumed fact is a fact that an expert or any person who has the knowledge or the expertise is telling you that as a result of this particular sexual intercourse with somebody and the lady has suffered, there's vaginal wall broken, there's hymen broken, all those terminologies comes to help the court. If we do not get a clear and coincide report from the medical officer, you've done harm, done good to the patient. You have impeded justice, and that goes against public interest. So we expect a lot from you. I also want to talk about some challenges, few challenges that we have with the medical report that we normally receive from the hospital community. Accuracy and adequacy of the information on the CID form 98A and 98. Omission of vital facts. Use of inappropriate terminology. Uncertain or unusual abbreviations like RX. The next one, hash, NAD, etc., etc. We don't understand. The police do not understand. The lawyers do not understand. The judges do not understand. So when it happens like that, we need to call the doctor to come and explain to us what is your X, capital R and small x, or capital RX. What is your hash? Is it a hashtag that we know on social media? NAD, what is your NAD? We don't know. So kindly we plead with you to tell us, give us certain and usual, tell us what it is. Use the appropriate terminology for us to appreciate. If you want to write, I don't know whether in your community, but my relationship with some doctors, meaning that the RX, you can write what is R and what is X, then you put it in bracket RX for us to appreciate it. The hash, what it meant in your community, this is a community language. Let us know. NAD, let us know. Certain vital facts, you do not normally see them on this particular form. Especially if you go to the back, you don't get them. Accuracy and inadequacy of information on the form, we don't get. A whole of the challenges. Times you find it even difficult to identify which doctor signed the medical form. You only see a signature behind it. Practice has shown that most often the one that you see signatures, some of them are documents signed by nurses and PAs. We hardly see senior medical officers giving only a signature without a name. But we have most of your documents that you see the signature. If you follow later, you realize that the document was signed by a PA, a houseman, or a nurse. In some cases, a first-year houseman signs, or officer houseman, or house whatever officer signs it. And it becomes a challenge in the courtroom. The question is, the person who signed the document, is it a competent officer to sign? The regulator will help us answer this question, whether or not house officers are competent to sign medical form for which a document that is medical legal document that is going into evidence. If no, you and I will know the harm that particular signature or officer has caused to the case. And once the officer signed that document and it goes against a particular party, if you don't take it, the whole facility, the hospital, will be a subject of litigation. They will sue you. So that we pray that the document should be signed by the appropriate authority or officer. At times, you realize that the information on the CID form 98 and 98A are different from what is in the patient record or folder at the hospital, especially where the patient has undergone maybe admission for a day or two, and the report is issued. We file our copy in our file. If the doctor gets to the courtroom and is asked to produce the patient folder, it comes, and upon examination, you realize that the information contained on the police medical form, either from 98 or the 98A, most often you see discrepancies, inconsistent. A whole lot of inconsistency where, for example, some of the documents we have, you see that maybe the police medical form says that severe condition of the left leg. Go to the file or the patient folder, fracture of the left leg or fracture left tibia. The judge will not appreciate. The police officer will not appreciate. The prosecutor will not appreciate, because the question we're going to ask is that the severe condition of the left leg, is it the same as fractured left tibia? If we bring another doctor, a senior medical officer or an expert for that matter, and he's able to say that no, it's not the same, it can never be one and the same, the conduct of the medical officer who signed the report has done harm than good to that particular case. Laceration of the foot versus the gloving injury of the whatever right foot, is it the same? The answer is no, in our opinion, from what we've learned from your community and from practice of our law and our profession. We then realize that one information, that is the laceration of the foot is in the patient folder, that the gloving injury also is on a police medical form or vis-a-vis. This is a challenge. Then the question is, who signed the medical form? Who undertook the examination of the patient? Was the person qualified to do? If no, the person should undertake this examination or should prepare the report under a supervision of a senior person so that we get the accurate information. The information contained in the medical records of the patient or folder should be the same as the one given to us on our police medical form, i.e. CRE form 98 and 98A. These are some of the vital information. At times you say traumatic extraction of the teeth, traumatic amputation of the finger, fractures or dislocation of the hand-leg bones. These are information that we do not understand. They are missing vital injury. Tell us what it is. Because at times you pick the form, the back, a doctor writes traumatic extraction of the teeth. It ends there. He puts signature, give to the patient brings to the police officer. A poor and innocent investigator who does not understand, who thought maybe the needful has been done, you get to the court and realize that the document did not pass the test. It will be too late for you to go and examine the patient again. At that time, harm has been caused. So under the circumstances, it is our prayer and request that, and we are happy to be part of this meeting, to say that these particular documents are very crucial documents in crime investigation. Crucial document one, the 98 itself, which require a very comprehensive, detailed document. I will want to suggest and also request that in an event of motor traffic accident, and you're a doctor who is going to attend to the patient, and the patient or the police comes with the 98A, kindly ask them to go and bring the 98. Because for the 98, there's a lot of information that is required of you to complete. Because depending on the nature of the accident, it may be severe, fatal, we require a lot. Where sketches, drawing, if it requires that the person suffered fracture, tibia, you can even draw the body or whatever your examination says, you give a sketch. So, but if it's assault or trivial or minor injury and you see the 98A, it's okay because the back can take the information that you've given us. And we are even very soon, we are redesigning the 98A to include certain information because of time and changes. We also request the pathologist most often to give us a comprehensive report. It's our prayer that you do not delay our reports and give us reports timeously. One of the questions I saw earlier was whether or not who should pay the cost, especially in government hospitals. Going back to the question slides.
So, Mr. Sarek, please, do you want me to read the question?
Yes.
Because a lot of questions are there, and it
Very
looks
well.
like they're all related to the police form.
Very well.
So if I can read one of them, on the police form, it is written that medical officer is to be paid 2 cedis and some pesos at the office where documents will be submitted. Is that a fee?
That is what is written on a document, but we believe this particular money, 2 cedi, 10 pesos, is long overdue. Since I joined the service almost 20 years, still be the same. So we are working on it to review. But the question is that who is supposed to collect this money? Is it the medical officer at Police Hospital 37 Rich Kolebu, or a private facility? If you look at the form very well, it's written beneath it here to say that, if I may read, a fee of 2 cedi 10 pesos will be paid to the registered medical practitioner, other than, emphasis is other than, a government officer. Meaning that if you're a government medical practitioner, you don't take that fee. You're supposed to submit the report. The question is that what is happening? The answer is no. So meaning that this particular form, when it's sent to a private facility, who is a registered medical practitioner allowed by the Medical and Dental Council to practice medicine, that is where the person is supposed to charge you to pay this amount. But obviously, they are not paying 2 cedi 10 pesos. And which we think, if for now, your community can come out or can come together with the police community to agree on how much should be paid, or depending on the patient, fine. But we know that somebody charges 300 to the extent that medical officers tell the victim of assault, victim of harm, causing unlawful harm, that give me transport, I'm taking this money, a government officer, I'm taking this money to enable me, in case I'm asked to come to the court to testify, I have to use it as my transport. It's unethical.
So, Mr. Atari, if I can please ask a follow-up question, because I think that has also been a challenge. Supposing I sign and I take the 2 cedis, and I'm supposed to come to the court, and my department asks me to go, how then do I get there? Because, and sometimes you have to come to the court very often. So you stop whatever you are doing, whatever you are supposed to be doing, and go to the court. I think that is where the challenge is. Then more or less, like, I signed this form, I mean, you are getting nothing, but you are supposed to be going to court with your own car, with your own fuel, to go and defend this thing. I think that is where the big challenge is. I don't know whether you will be able to give us some answer or some explanation to that, because for me, that has been my limitation, and as such, it's difficult for me to even decide to sign anything.
Thank you very much, Dr. Christine. Yes, we appreciate your concern, but the issue is that when the patient is asked, for instance, a traumatic patient like rape patient, defilement patient, is asked to pay money before the medical officer, or for want of better, the government officer comes to testify. That is the challenge, because you realize that the case in court is a criminal matter. It's not a civil case where it's a Dr. Christian versus Sylvester Sarek. This the Republic versus somebody. And the victim is a witness for the Republic. The doctor is also a witness for the Republic. The question is, why should one witness pay the transport of the other witness to come to court in issues of government matter, government business? The doctor is an employee of government, Police Hospital, 37, Rich. Kolebu is an employee. Yes, they are employees of government. And they are going to testify for and on behalf of the government and their facility for a work that they've done.
The government hasn't given me any money to go and do that.
We agree.
Yes, I haven't been given any fuel.
We agree. So what we normally want you to do, instead of taxing the patient in criminal matters, not in civil matters, in criminal matters, you liaise with the officer or the commanding officer of that police station. If, for instance, it's, let's say, Cantonment Police Station that requested for that particular report, then the medical officer, we expect the medical officer, if you've been invited by the court to come and testify, we expect that the medical officer at least should liaise with the district commander or the crime officer, at least the senior police officer there. I'm supposed to go to court in the matter. Remember the matter with this? Yes. So can you please facilitate my going? Maybe they will ask official vehicle to come for you. Because a witness has certain money that depends on where the witness is coming from. That one's supposed to be paid or borne by the court. There's a witness money that the court's supposed to pay. Transport of a witness is supposed to be paid by the court.
Okay.
Yes. There is a law that regulates the conduct of a witness, transport, where you sleep, all those things. Ideally, the Attorney General's Department, being the chief legal advisor for the state, is supposed to facilitate your movement. But because the police and Attorney General are working together hand in hand, the police station should also assist in facilitating your movement to the court, either by conveying you with a service vehicle or finding any means that you get to the court. So we always advise our officers to establish that rapport with the medical community or the medical or the hospital within their district or their command, their region. As a regional commander, we expect that you should know the medical director within your region, the some of the senior medical officers there, so that any of them can place a phone call to you that one of my officers is supposed to go and testify in this matter, but we are having a transport challenge. Can you please assist us to go? I'll tell you that the regional commander or the district commander will be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. One of the questions that is coming up is that when the client goes to the police station to collect the form, do they pay anything at the station?
No.
Because sometimes they come and they say that they paid something at the station.
No. The form given to the client is free. It's part of the service that police render. Because you are investigating a matter and the client has alleged that he or she has been defied, assaulted, raped, and you need an assistance from the medical community. These forms are printed by the government, given to the police to give to who matter in that particular case. Give to the person, let the person go to the hospital and bring you the report. If you do not know and you collect money from the patient and the authority gets to know, it amounts to misconduct and it may even amount to a crime, that is corruption.
Okay.
Yeah.
If someone is saying that I work in a district hospital where there is no pathologist, but we get coroner's inquest directing us to give them cause of death, what should I do? Can I complete the form? Can I complete form knowing that I'm not a pathologist? Because you talked about the coroner's form, and someone is saying that in the district hospitals, we don't have a lot of pathologists in the country. So surely in the district hospitals, we will not have a pathologist. And then I'm a medical officer, I'm a senior medical officer there. I'm supposed to fill the coroner's form. Is that accepted?
The challenge there is that the coroner has directed that you conduct postmortem autopsy of a particular body and tell us the cause of death. If the coroner asks a simple question, what was the cause of death? Because the person was on admission, and maybe you should be able to tell the cause of death without even sending the person to the pathologist to open the body and do all those examinations. If you think you are in a position to answer on the face of it, based on the question the coroner has asked, as a senior medical officer, maybe the patient, you know the patient already, the patient has been with you for years, he has been your patient, but he was rushed to your facility. Within 24 hours, he passed on. So if you've been in that facility for years and they bring the folder to you and it's huge as a handout, and going through, you know that he has a chronic disease, and maybe upon your examination, you realize that he or she died as a result of any of the chronic illness, hypertension, or whatever, and you think you can speak to the request of the coroner, you can do that, but not a PA, not a nurse.
Okay. Okay.
But when it comes to go and open the body, the function of the pathologist, then the nearest pathologist should be calling to do that work. So we know certain towns and villages that do not have even senior MO, and they even have more or less like, at times we even see PAs there. So we request that they go to, for instance, if it's within Ashanti region, where can we get the nearest pathologist? If it's within Eastern, where can we get the nearest pathologist? I know some of them travel all the way to go and conduct a business and go back to their post. And their transport is borne by the police.
Okay. So I think it's
Dr. Chris,
so yeah, can you come in, please? But even before you come
yes,
in,
also
on the Q&A section, I can see that there's an anonymous attendee who has put a lot of questions there. I don't know whether he's a doctor or not, because I'm expecting that if you are a doctor and you sign in with your Medical and Dental Council registration, we should see your name. So so I'm skipping his question, the anonymous attendees questions. So you realize I'm not reading any of them. So can we please see to that whilst we continue? Dr. Brifo, are you going to read some of the questions?
Yes. So those viewing from YouTube, we are putting up the registration link so that you can register for your CPD points. And also a question from YouTube to Soup. The person is asking, can a doctor at a private facility sign a police form, because normally it is written on it to be signed by a medical officer at any government facility? Soup, if you can answer that for us.
Thank you very much, Doc. Doc, if you look at our form, it said that registered medical practitioner, not the one only in government hospital. So, as one of your ethical considerations, the autonomy of the patient. If a patient decides that I won't go to government hospital, but I'll go to a private facility, the question is that, is the facility registered? Is the facility known to your association, Medical and Dental Council? Is the doctor there? Is it a quack doctor or is it a registered medical practitioner? If it's a registered medical practitioner, he or she can sign.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. That's the only question on you.
With all that you have said, the emphasis, because I can see people asking about physician assistants and nurses and all that, but to you asking those questions who are on the platform, Mr. Sylvester Aftari has emphatically said that the police form is supposed to be signed by a medical practitioner. Medical practitioner being a medical officer and above. It is not for a physician assistant. It is not for a nurse to sign. And then the other thing is that you need an expert opinion at the court. They need an expert opinion. So whoever is going to fill this form should be competent enough to give enough information for the court to use. And as much as possible, we should try to avoid abbreviations, because they will not understand the abbreviations that we put in there. And these are legal documents. So if you put in abbreviations, it can be interpreted in any way. So it should be clearly written. And that is why the challenge is, we are always in a hurry to write. And sometimes it's difficult to read a handwriting, but it should be well written. And we should give accurate information. My problem is that sometimes, especially the form 98A, it is so small that you don't even know what to put there. You know how some people, when they are writing with a pen, it's so bold. The form 98A is too small for any information to get there. I mean, that is challenging. You don't even know where to start and where to end. So you said it is going to be redesigned, but when it is redesigned, the Form 98 itself should also be redesigned to include a little more papers. In as much as you want us to give accurate information, sometimes we look at the form and it is very difficult to even fill. I don't know, but I think when it is being redesigned, you should include a doctor in the redesigning so that we can put accurate information. When someone presents to the hospital, I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, and rape, it is very difficult to, I mean, you have to think and try and get some information and put there. But if a doctor is involved in the designing of the form, I think it will it will help when it is given to a patient so that you would get, the information that you need will be given to you. So I think in summary, that is what I will say. Whilst I go on to the questions on the page, can you decide not to sign a police form? The consulting room and a patient comes and I want to see whatever is happening to you, I need to see you. But after seeing you, can I decide that I will not sign this police form? Mr.
That is a challenge. If you've gone ahead to examine or attend to the patient, you must submit a report. Because you may, if you don't sign, the challenge is that one thing we have to always remember is that the court can drag you, the doctor, to the courtroom. Because once it is informed that a particular doctor called Dr. Christine, who examined the patient, who then going to inform the court that she has failed to submit a report of her examination. And for that matter, we want the court to subpoena her to come. The court will subpoena, and now it becomes a compelling conduct or attitude where you are being dragged to the court to speak to your examination, and you realize that it becomes a bit unethical, for want of a better word, and a bit unprofessional that you've attended to a patient. What do you have to hide? Because if a patient comes to your consulting room, you attend to a patient and write even a prescription for the person to go, and the person has a folder with you. So how come a patient who has undergone this severe or trauma comes to you, you attend to the patient and said, no, I won't sign the medical form? That is better you say you not attend to the patient, which also becomes another problem for you. So kindly, let's work together, at least for yes, to attend, to help to give the best treatment to our patients.
Someone wants to find out if there's a form that we are supposed to fill when they bring prisoners to the hospital. Please, which of the forms you mentioned is presented for medical officers to fill for prisoners? If not, which type is issued and is it given for every prisoner?
Okay. When we have a prisoner in our custody and this prisoner is reported sick, for the purpose of evidence that he or she has reported sick, the officer in charge of station has the discretion to issue the medical form, i.e. the Form 98A.
Okay.
The prisoner to go to hospital. So a police officer will escort the prisoner to hospital, because when the prisoner goes to the OPD, maybe he or she may be treated and discharged. So if treated and discharged, then we have the view that the 98A should be able to take care of the treated and discharged patients. If it happens that this particular prisoner is going to go through detention, surgery, and other things, then we'll rather expect that Form 98 is rather issued to the medical officer to complete it, depending on the nature of the treatment and examination. We see prisoners or inmates as any other patient, just that they come under escort. The patient or the victim do not come under escort, but the treatment should be the same. the report. That is why you realize in certain cases, a prisoner will be in our custody. He will fall sick, and we rush the person to hospital, any nearby hospital. After treatment, their lawyers will write to the hospital for medical report. They want to use it to file a bail application, or they want you to use it to tell the doctor that my client has this particular chronic illness, and we want you to release him so that we can get proper medical care. Last, we even collapsed at the cells. Were sent to police hospital, were sent to Komfonoche, were sent to Rich, were sent to Kolebu 37. And the report is available, and they will file the report and let the court study the report. If the court has a challenge, the court will then invite the medical officer who examined the patient to come and speak to the report. So the patient is the inmate, the suspect, whoever, they are all treated as equal as any other patient that appears before you.
Okay. So I mean, just a follow-up to that. When I fill the police form, am I supposed to write? Someone is asking whether the person, you are supposed to write the treatment that you've given the patient as well, or is just your history and examination findings alone?
Yes, history, examination, findings. Then maybe the treatment you gave to the patient may be in the folder, the patient folder.
Okay.
So that because you've given us the history, the examination, and the findings, comprehensive one, we are okay with that because we want to know whether or not indeed there was a rape, whether or not indeed there has been an assault, and what did you find? If you tell us, good. Now, if during cross-examination, the court wants to know what kind of treatment you gave to the patient, when you are summoned to come to the court, that you are coming with the patient folder.
Okay. So someone is asking about the money that is paid to the pathologist by the judicial service. How much is it, and is it being paid?
By the judicial service. Okay. It's not only to pathologists, so it's to all witnesses. A pathologist is a witness.
Okay.
And it's paid. It's still there. You see, the laws are in the
I'm sure
books.
it's going to be one of those 2 cities.
Exactly, something like that. But obviously, so you realize that because you need a pathologist to come from Komfonoche to Accra to testify. And
yes.
You know that 2 CD or 100 Ghana cannot bring a pathologist from Komfonoche to Accra to testify. So either you fly or Komfonoche, because the pathologist will tell, okay, give me a means of transport. Okay, then you have to give the pathologist, get the pay airfare in and out. Ticket is how much? If going to Kumasi, 1,000 in, 1,000 out. He's only expecting his ticket from you. If the pathologist is going to sleep in Accra and continue tomorrow, you're supposed to make provision for hotel. And this is supposed to be done by the court. And normally is the Attorney General and the police who normally do this because you want to do a good case. So if you allow the pathologist to go and sleep somewhere, as a result, he said, I'm going to Kumasi, I couldn't get a place to sleep. Then you are doing harm than good to yourself. At least for once, give the pathologist or the medical officer a good place to sleep. If the person does not live in Accra and he doesn't have a place in Accra to sleep, or he doesn't have a place in Kumasi to sleep, if we get to know, the regional commander will make a provision for you. Because I can tell you that if I travel to Kumasi or I travel anywhere to go and attend court, the regional commander, they're supposed to provide me a hotel to sleep. So we expect that if a pathologist also travel to that region and it's known to the regional command or the district command, they should make a provision for the officer to sleep.
Someone is saying that, but the police take money from the client for fuel before going to court. What about that? This is someone's question, which is true anyway.
We've been hearing, but what we hear is unlawful and it's unethical, it's unprofessional. We hear, but when we hear, we take action. If we don't hear, then we keep quiet on it. But if it comes to our notice, and the patient and the client is able to come out to say that it's Kofi Menu who took the money from me, the administration will take proper action, severe action against you.
I doubt if the client will do that because you have come to report something and then now you are coming to indict me. Are you expecting me to defend you? I doubt
Yes.
if this was.
As Ghanaians as we are.
Yes.
But they want to be very careful in not incurring the displeasure of the officer investigating his or her matter.
So I doubt if the client will do that. Another question is that in most police stations, they do not have duty cars. I think it's about the same. How will the police transport a doctor to court if the station itself has no duty car?
For instance, let me use myself. If I'm conducting a matter and there's a lawyer, a doctor in the case, and the doctor is due for examination, i.e. to go to court and testify, and the doctor gets me informed that, sorry, or I call the doctor, I said, Dr. Christine, our matter is next week, Wednesday. So I just called to give you a reminder. Maybe Monday, I may give a reminder again. Then Dr. Christine says, Mr. Sorry, I'm handicapped in terms of transport. I said, Doc, will you mind to get my car? Will you mind if my driver picks you up? And Doc said, oh, I don't mind. If okay, the driver is available to, if you can do that, fine. I do that for my colleague, my friend doctors. I do that for other people, even ordinary witnesses who are not professional, who are not experts. I drive you to court. So we expect that if the command in charge of the matter is aware, and if that rapport is there between the command and the hospital community, you should be able to transport the medical officer to court. This is not a big deal that you're transporting the medical officer to court. It's not a big deal at all. Whether or not there's a command, a duty car parked purposely for that or not, the officer in charge of that particular case can even use his own private car to convey you to court.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is coming over. I need clarification, please. Does it mean medical officers shouldn't charge before filling the police form? And it is yes from this presentation.
Yeah, that is when it's a government hospital.
Yeah, government hospital. But the follow-up question is that some police officers reject completed forms from private institutions, except from public institutions. So some police officers reject completed forms from private institutions. I don't know if you can answer
that is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. Yes, I've come in contact with such a situation where a lawyer called me from Eastern Region to say that his client attended hospital and the police rejected the medical form that he should send it to Kofodia Regional Central Hospital, whatever. I said, why? He said it's a private hospital. I said, is the facility, is there a registered medical practitioner? He said, yes. Is the facility, which facility? He mentioned the facility, which indeed is a registered medical facility. Then I said, it's very unfortunate. Maybe the officer was displaying ignorance. It does not understand. Instead of he or she consulting a senior person, the station of the commanding officer there, the crime officer, the district commander, that I issued a medical form to victim XYZ to be sent to hospital. I even mentioned Kofodia Central Hospital to the victim, but he sent to maybe, let's say, this orthopedic center in Kofodia, any private facility in Kofodia, and he brought it. Can I accept it? Your crime officer will tell you yes. Once the doctor who signed this is a registered MO or medical practitioner, he can sign. It's okay. So it's very unfortunate if it happens. So we know we are humans, and maybe the officer is an inexperienced investigator or detective who might have thought that it's only government hospital that it should be permissive. No, registered medical practitioner. That is the emphasis. The language is registered medical practitioner. So if it's a private hospital and the officer there is competent to sign and the facility is registered, he can sign.
Mr. Sari, there's an interesting question. You said that when we are filling the police form, we should make sure that we fill it in such a way that it's so clear for you to see. And whatever we sign there should be related to what is in the folder. And you even give examples of conditions in the police form and what you find in the folder. Meanwhile, in our practice, what we write in the folder is not in simple person's language. They contain medical terminology. So you would read what is in the folder and you will see something else that you might not understand. And you are expecting that we write the same thing in the police form. And meanwhile, you want us to write it in the way that you would understand. So how do we go about it?
Thank you very much, Doc. Doc, for instance,
this is a question from someone.
Yes. Doc, for instance, if I say that if a medical form comes to me and it says severe contusion of the right leg, fracture right tibia and fibula, and this is one is contained in the patient folder. One is on the severe condition of the right leg is on the police medical form. Doc, from your profession, I'm an illiterate when it comes to medicine. Is these two descriptions the same?
I think the orthopedic surgeon should answer for us.
Yeah, if you have an orthopedic
I understand what you are saying, but sometimes it becomes a bit challenging to break it down in a simple man's language for you to understand, and sometimes it becomes a bit challenging.
No, some are very simple. Look, for instance, this question I asked: severe contusion of the right leg.
Yeah, so then
and fibula. Is it the same?
Yes. No.
Yes. So if the folder contains severe contusion of the right leg, and the police medical form behind it contains or has fracture right tibia and fibula, they are two separate in our opinion. Because when we get to the courtroom, it's a different ball game. Another person will interrogate what you've written. We don't mind the medical jargons you use in the folder, or the whatever writing, the skill, whatever you demonstrate in the folder. But at least before the folder comes, what you brought to us should be the same. Severe contusion of so and so and so should be the same in the folder, so that the folder will not read fracture right tibia and fibula. Where when we invite another medical officer, he will say that these two diagnoses are different.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I agree. This question was from Angela from
Yes, we should just, so that whatever contains in the folder, we are not saying that don't write the medical terminologies or jargons in your folder, but we want to say that your findings, if assuming your finding is severe contusion of the right leg, let the same findings be in the folder. The folder should not contain traumatic extraction of the teeth, whereas the police report contains severe contusion of the right leg.
Okay, I understand. So Dr.
Samuel, the person who asked that question just sent a direct message.
Come again.
Have you seen, as in follow up to that question?
Yes.
On the NHIS platform, have you seen NHIS has their diagnosis? As in, they have their diagnosis, and sometimes it's not the same as what the medical doctor is seeing. The diagnosis will be different from what, as in the diagnosis from the NHIS. So sometimes we write what we see, and on the NHIS diagnosis, we pick the nearest to what, as in we see. So sometimes that creates the disparity. So I don't know if probably we should give our impression again in the NHIS. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
I understand what you are saying, because you go to the consulting room and you use the limbs, and then the ICD diagnosis. I mean, I find it very, very, I don't know what word to use, but it's very challenging.
Yes.
I mean, whatever they put there is so challenging. So maybe you pick one of them, and then whatever you've written is really what the diagnosis that you saw is. Maybe when it happens that way, then when you go to court, we would have to explain for them to understand that these diagnoses are faked on the system, but the real thing you saw is this one. I'm sure that is what is going to happen.
Yes, so that's where sometimes brings the discrepancy.
Yes, sometimes it brings the discrepancy.
So what, as doctors, what can we do to help?
Yes, as partners, I think there should be a round table to resolve this issue, because if I had Dr. Christian Risley, maybe if there's a template there, then you go on the platform, you click, it comes with this, that to say that maybe extraction of the teeth. That is the nearest one there. Meanwhile, what you found was different. Then if, assuming you go by this extraction of the teeth, and maybe as a layman, tomorrow that particular doctor is not there, and another doctor comes, this is what is in the record. That's what the lawyers will take it. This is what is in the record, because what is in the record is what the doctor found. But if it's the same doctor and he comes to court, he's going to say that this is not what I found, but this is what was available on the system. So I selected that one. It's a big problem. Right. So we think that we need to come together and harmonize this issue so that it becomes the same everywhere. We can be on the same page. If we say A is A, if National Health say B is B, but most importantly and most specifically, if whatever, try as much as possible that what is contained in the patient's folder is more or less the same as the one you've given to the police officer or the victim or the patient. Because when there's what we call inconsistent with the report of the police and that of the patient folder with the doctor, then it leaves room for the lawyers to place their own interpretation. The court will find itself in a tight corner. Now the judge has to use his opinion, common sense, because he's not a doctor. Even the doctors did not help me because the evidence says that the doctor, being an expert, should assist the judge to make a determination. But the judge is saying that the doctor's report did not help me, did not bring us closer to the solution, but rather created more problem for us. So the doctor's report, I want to reject it. You can imagine what this effect that this will have on our situation or the body.
Hello, Auntie.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Doctor.
Okay, so this is Dr. Yankson, Vice President.
Yes.
Chief, thank you very much for the presentation. I want to make some few comments. I think one thing that has become clear is that we will need to have some meetings with your team. You've had a very good presentation with us, but there are still a lot of gray areas that we need to address. For example, issues relating to the charges. There is a lot more to discuss, and I think that on this particular platform, it might not be too appropriate because it's going to take a lot of time. As a professional association, we have our own scale of fees that actually includes what should be paid for issues related to police forms. And we have a very good basis and explanation and an understanding as to why those figures are in our professional fees, which should be charged by the doctor. I don't want this to turn into a banter. So like I said, we'll discuss. There are still issues around this, in quotes, 24 hours bit relating to the coroners. To be honest with you, that is just a rebuttable presumption, because in the past, it was deemed that diagnosis may not be made within 24 hours. But in truth, if a patient comes, especially in this modern age where we have all the facilities, in some facility, all the gadgets that we need to make diagnosis in some facilities, diagnosis can actually be made in less than 24 hours. And once it is made, it doesn't fall into the arena of the coroner. In much the same way, diagnosis could delay and it might still not fall within. So this methodologies of 24 hours and all that, in practice, we're actually moving out of those bits. Yes, the 24 may be a guide to an extent, but actually it's a rebuttable presumption that was used as a basis for some of these things. Where you have a patient who died in the facility, for example, within hours of arriving, and like you said, the patient may have been known to us and all that. We know the diagnosis, we know the prognosis, we know what was going to happen. And if it follows that route, we usually will not even refer to the coroner because we know from our practice that this was what the end result was going to be like. Yes, of course, you cannot rule out issues relating to potential crime. So we are mindful of that. And these are things that we need to look at. And the redesigning of your form, like you said, we need to look at not just even the information, but even the size of the document. What we have now is woefully inadequate when it comes to some activities. And like we also just discussed, issues relating to the introduction of software in facilities, and sometimes where you have fixed differential diagnoses and what have you. So there are still issues relating to the movement of the doctors. Yes, you may have said it in a nice way, but I can tell you for sure, in practice, it does not happen. I have practiced law, I practice medicine, and in truth, these things don't happen in most places. You may be magnanimous enough to do this for all your friends, but it's not all the facilities that will do. And the burden is almost always on us, the doctors. Even the facilities where we work in, sometimes the supports don't come. So I think that I'll just end my comments here. There are a lot of things to discuss, but I want members to rest assured that the association ultimately will make a better pronouncement after we have had these discussions with the police on the charges, because I can see from the comment section that it is beginning to
most people are talking about the charges.
Yes, it is beginning to create some challenges, and as executives, we will work with the police, and Waterloo will come out with a statement for you. But as far as we are concerned, the status quo remains until you get anything different from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Sari, there's this question from Wisdom Afedo. Good evening. Thanks for the presentation. I was working in Bogatanga 2 years ago and filled a police report. I was contacted 2 weeks ago because the case is in court, and I'm needed as a witness. I'm currently in Accra. Please, who pays for my transportation there?
Doc,
Yes, sir.
As I indicated earlier, we expect that Boga is Upper East, right?
Boga is, yes, Upper East, yes.
Yes. So we expect that the Upper East Regional Command ensure that the doctor gets to that place. If the doctor is still having a challenge to go, as President indicated, I can take it upon myself and work with the command here to facilitate his going to that place.
Okay, so Dr. Afedo, Mr. Asari has promised, so I will get his number for you so that he would facilitate your going to Bolga. And if you have to stay there, your accommodation and everything, and then come back. But Mr. Asari, you know that court cases, sometimes you have to go, come. It's not a one-day thing, but
yes.
You have promised. So
yes,
we are taking
because
your
we will make the command will be in the noon, the next court date, they know. And we ensure that we communicate to the command that they should ensure that until doctor is done with his testimony, they should ensure that his movement is taken care of.
Okay.
You see, at times it's all about networking and relationship, because we expect that the investigation body or the team or the commanding officer supervising this investigation should have doctor's contact by now. Because if a doctor played a particular role in your investigation and you don't even know the doctor, you realize that it's somehow bad. You should know the doctor by now, because you will need the doctor. Even if the doctor is traveling out of the country, he will let you know that, Mr. Sari, I'll be away for 6 weeks. I'm on leave. I want to go and attend to setting up private issues or family issues outside the country. So if you need me, kindly take notice of my absence and make sure you arrange accordingly. I would do normally. That is what we do, because he or she has my contact. I have he or she's contact. We relate nicely, even on other private matters. Mr. Sari, I just called to say so. What is your opinion? We do that every day. But it's about relationship and maybe communication. That is what is causing the problem. But I'm not going forward. When we sit around table, we'll be able to iron out some of these issues. And again, as your charges, we know, at times money becomes blood. So we know that these charges issues, lawyers, we charge. We charge, and we know you also charge. So the money is an issue that
it's an issue, Mr. Sari,
it's an issue. Doctor have to travel to Boga. How does it go? The facility he's working with in Accra now.
The doctor also has plans. You see, you have things doing.
Yeah, we understand.
Those things may be money related. Now I have to stop everything that I'm doing just to go there. And it's not humanitarian like that. So sometimes it becomes very challenging.
We appreciate. We will believe very soon it will be ironed out.
Yes. So Newton Latte asks that, please, is it right for the prosecution to ask the doctor to meet him at the police station to ask him questions before they appearing at the court?
We call it conference. The prosecutor doesn't want the doctor to find one thing. Maybe the doctor is not familiar with the court room. So maybe that may be the doctor's first time. Even if you are familiar, if you are familiar with the courtroom, courtroom, if we've been there before, it's a different market area. So maybe the investigator or the prosecutor wants to have a conference with the doctor. And he said, look, can we meet? For me, I will not ask the doctor, come to my office before we go. No, at times I see it as a bit of, you need to give respect to who is due. At least the doctor is your witness. Doctor, can we meet and have a conference before we go? It's a language. So doctor, yes. We are going tomorrow or next week, Wednesday, and also. Okay, Monday I have a clinic. Tuesday I have a clinic. Can we do Tuesday around 4 p.m.? So the venue, do you want to come to my office or I should pass by? You see, the doctor will be asking you, should I pass by? It depends on the relation we have with the doctor. Should I pass by? You come to my clinic, my hospital. Okay, I'll pass by. When I close, I'll pass by your clinic. It's okay. I'll be waiting for 2 p.m. Let's meet. I go to the doctor's consulting room. We sit down. I take my water. We have a conference. This is what I expect from you. This is the nature of the case. So this is the demeanor of the judge. This is the demeanor or the conduct of the lawyers involved. So calm down. Don't move. Do this, do this. I'll give you those tips and prepare you. Then we go. But if you said, come and meet me in my office before we go, it's become like you are commanding him. He's not your employee.
Mr. Ferry, I'm sure that is the reason why you were asked to come and talk to us, because it's like you are making it look very, very, very friendly and very simple. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, we
know.
Sometimes
it doesn't happen that way, and you are supposed to be going there, and it becomes a little challenging, especially if it is someone who is not used to going to court. Yeah. And you hear all sorts of things about going to court. You see, I think it's good that you are the one talking to us, because you are making it look very, very friendly.
And that is how it's supposed to be, because even my colleagues in the police hospital will tell you about me. If I need an information from them concerning my matter, I will not ask you to come to my office. I'll walk to you, your office. Charlie, what do we do? This is the matter, blah, blah, blah. We talk, we go. You see, it's about how you relate to the person. Because he's also a boss on his own. To study medicine is not a small matter. Maybe after that, he's even a specialist. And you go, you command a specialist that come and meet me in my office before you go to court.
Meanwhile, I didn't cause the problem.
No, he's not your employee. He's not part of your subordinates. You understand? So it's about language and how you relate to the person. We understand that some sound like, make sure you meet me 6 o'clock before we go. I say, hey,
yes,
you can't do that.
So, Mr. Sorry, this is from Edenam Gavi. I hope I pronounced your name well, but is that when you are redesigning the forms, please consider the dentist as well. I think, like we rightly said, Ghana Medical Association is really interested in the redesigning of the forms. And our work is a wide spectrum, including the dentist. So because I'm sure it's so challenging for the dentist to fill this form when there's an assault and there's is a dental issue, or there's an accident and there's a dental issue. I'm sure the form is not friendly to them. So when you are, Edenam is saying that when the form is being redesigned, you should consider the dentist as well.
Yes, we agree. Edna, we've taken your concern, because we know that our form is over age. It's indeed over age. It was designed long ago, and things have changed. And we cannot design the current form without consulting or without recourse to the medical and dental council, without your body. It can never be, because without that, we will still have that challenge. But if you sit around a table with your team and our medical team, then we should be able to come out with a very standardized form that all departments will be able to use.
Yes. So question from Emmanuel Ajay Amwa, and it's about the same from Dorothy Hansen as well, is that what if whatever incident happened maybe a weeks ago, the person was treated in another facility where there was no medical officer, then now the person comes to a facility where there is a medical officer. Sometimes it becomes challenging getting information, especially when it is rape and you need to examine the person, and this has happened weeks or days before the person comes to a medical officer. What do we do?
Yes, thank you very much. I like that question. You realize that the Form 98 has a date where the person came to you, when the incident happened, and when she came to you. So assuming the incident happened 10 days ago, but the patient reported at your facility today, then the question is, there has been time lapse 10 days. Within the 10 days, what happened? Then because it will show that the patient went elsewhere before coming to you. Now you are going to continue from what you saw. So you are going to conduct, you are taking the complaint, i.e. the allegation or the story that so and so and so and so. And I believe that in your system, you record a patient reported that reported having been raped or defied by Kofi Menu. Okay. And the third person who defied, and the thing happened 10 days ago. And according to the patient, he first reported to so and so and so and so and so facility. Subsequently, he was transferred or by himself moved to our facility. Meaning you are continuing from where she got to you. There's nothing much, if there's nothing much you can do, apart from what you've seen, what your examination has disclosed, or the findings you have, you just give. But you should be able to give us a history to say that the patient earlier on indicated that she reported to facility SY before coming to your place. A week after she came to your place, either she came to your place on referral or by herself, let us know.
Okay.
Because it may get to a stage that the first person who attended to the patient may not be an MO or a medical officer proper to sign. So he or she could not sign, but that person can still testify the state at which he met he saw the victim. You understand? Because the victim went to that hospital. So when after your report and the need arises that we should invite the physician or the physician's assistant who first of all give the first aid to the patient, that person is unable to sign our form. But the court can invite that person also to speak to what did you see the first day the person came to you. What did you see? I saw a blast in her panty. I saw this, I saw that, I saw this, and after which I gave her this medication. Then adding what the person did together what you did later may be able to help the court to form an opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. This answers a question that someone has asked earlier on, that what if the patient came and there was a physician assistant who saw and cannot fill the form, or the form was not ready, so comes to see, maybe days later comes to see a medical officer. So this has answered the question. But there's a question from Nabaki Ama. A year after I examined a girl for defilement, a man who said he's a bailiff came to look for me. He asked me if I was Dr. So and so. I answered yes. Then he gave me an envelope and said I had been subpoenaed, but I was not aware that the case was in court. Why the subpoena?
There was a poor communication. Very, very poor communication gap between the police officer or the prosecution. If it's being done by the AG's office or the police, there was a poor communication gap. Because first of all, the police officer should let the doctor know that the matter is in court. The police officer, even now, you're supposed to file what we call a witness statement for the doctor. That witness statement will attach the medical report. If you don't file a witness statement and the doctor wants to come and speak in the doc, fine. When it gets there, we'll take it up. But ideally, you're supposed to file a witness statement for the doctor If you don't find a doctor want to come and speak to the dog, it's also good. But the doctor must know that the matter is before court. Doc, the matter has been adjourned to August 3rd for you or for the court to take your testimony. So kindly, when it's getting close, I will let you know. Doctor said, okay. If doctor failed to attend the court, then maybe the prosecutor tried again. Doctor failed to attend the court. Now the prosecutor will make a request, which we call a prayer, to the court to issue a subpoena to be served and the doctor to come. If other than that, why can't the first time you are serving the doctor with a subpoena? It doesn't augur well, because when you do that, you are trying to create some friction between the police community and the medical community. Then that particular doctor, henceforth, if there's a patient that something that may lead the doctor to go to court, she may or he may want to avoid that. Avoiding that also becomes professional issue, ethical issue that the doctor can find himself wanting in another one way or the other. But we expect that communication should go. You cannot, in my opinion, you cannot go to court as a prosecutor and then for the first time you are serving the doctor with a subpoena. No, I think it didn't go well. And I want to apologize for that. It didn't go well. The doctor should know that the matter is before court.
Yes, thank you very much. I think as much as possible, we have exhausted some of the questions, but panelists, because the other people cannot solve. Panelists, if there's any question that you want to ask, I think we have some few minutes, so I want to give opportunity to the panelists to ask one or two questions, then we can bring the program to an end. But I believe this has been very educative. The common questions that are running through in the Q&A section is, can I refuse to sign the police form? And Mr. Asari is saying that emphatically you cannot. But if you're a junior officer and you are not comfortable, I think that in a hospital where there is hierarchy, it is better if there's an emergency, you attend to the patient and then talk to the senior person in your hospital so that the right thing will be done. When we are filling the form, unfortunately, one of the form 98A is small, but we should try as much as possible to write clearly for them to see, avoid abbreviations, get accurate information, because it is needed, is a legal, an expert opinion, and it is needed in court. Even as we await, the new forms that will be redesigned, all these things, we are supposed to be doing that to help our patients and when they come to us. And emphatically, it is said that the form is supposed to be filled by a medical officer and not by a nurse or a physician assistant. These questions are going on. So more or less, those who joined late, in summary, will say that. And this program has been brought to you by Ghana Medical Association, and is one of the free ethics that we are presenting to our members. So this program has been brought to you by Ghana Medical Association. And there's a committee that sat and planned all these things. Our committee chair is Dr. Pekua PJ. Members of the committee are Dr. Thomas Connie, Dr. Aisha, Dr. Justice Arthur, Dr. Brefo, and myself. So thank you very much. Any of the panelist members, if there's any question that you want to ask, Dr. Aisha, I can see your hand up. So if you have a question, can you unmute and then ask the question? In the next 2 minutes or in the next 5 minutes, we would end the program.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Before Dr. Aisha comes in, let me add this to say that we, the form 98A, very small, short, cute, there's nothing also prevent the doctor examining the patient to use any other document, for instance, A4 or any official letterhead of the hospital. State your findings, your position, and stipulate it with your stamp and your signature and your name.
Yeah, okay. So I wanted clarification because I think I heard that Honorable Police Superintendent said that the medical, the police form, whether it is signed from a private facility or a public facility, as long as the cadre officer is a medical officer and above, it is acceptable. So it doesn't matter whether it is from a public hospital or a private hospital. Is that so, boss?
That is so. The issue is that it's not about, the question is, it's not about only government hospital that you should go. Registered medical practitioner.
Okay.
Registered
and
medical
then my
practitioner.
Other issue was the fact that, also clarification, that if you have criminal case, such as maybe rape, it is illegal to take any money from your victim. Is that it?
It's illegal on whose side? The doctor's side or the
on
police
the doctor's side? On the doctor's side.
The law requires that, you see, if it's a government facility, to realize that the designers of the form, ages, says that it should be paid to a registered medical practitioner other than a government officer, meaning that if you are an officer working in a government facility, you are not supposed to take money. That's a literal meaning. That's the meaning. But so if it's a private person who has established his own facility, it's a very senior medical officer who has established his own facility, you are telling the person you should not take money, that one is a problem. But we understand that even government hospital, the doctors, is the same like one doctor is supposed to go to Borga. How does it go? So we are happy that the association want to take it up, and we iron that monetary aspect out and make it.
So that was
once they write to us.
That was the last clarity. Yeah, that was the last one, that we are going to update that value of that 2 cedis. Because I know GMA, we already had a list of what we charge for our services.
Yeah. So once we sit around and that thing comes, I think it will be circulated all over nationwide.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Doc.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Sari, there's another question from Rafael and Nicholas. You know, when a patient is seen, sometimes on the day or even sometimes even the week that you see the patient, you might not have the definitive diagnosis. So it could be a provisional diagnosis. So the question now is that, can I delay filling the police form until I get the definitive diagnosis?
Yes, because you are the expert. And the form is not time bound that within 24 hours submit the form. So for instance, if the patient comes and after you examine the patient, you've requested for certain tests to be conducted, lab, another test, maybe first lab is conducted, it comes back, you said, no, I think I want you to go and do MRI, go and come. The person goes to do MRI. From MRI, go and do so. By the time you realize, it has taken about a month for you to finish examining the patient, for you to come out with your findings. So within all this period, the form will be with you until you are done. We need a report from you. Until you are done, you give us a report. So the investigator will be informed that when I went to the hospital, I was examined, and after which the doctor gave me an instruction or whatever to go to, let's say, Lancet here and here to go and do my lab and come. So I don't have money today, but I'll go. So if the person goes to the lab and go and do the lab and come, and the doctor says, okay, you are done, but whatever I wanted to do, I think I'll prefer you do maybe a CT scan. So go and do so and so. It depends on the diagnosis and whatever the doctor is looking out for, and the complaint the patient sent to the hospital. We'll let us know whether or not the report will get it day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, or as and when the doctor is done. But we pray that there should not be unreasonable delay. If you are done, then kindly you submit the report.
Okay, thank you very much. But Mr. Sai, one of the questions that we are asking is that I think we would need, periodic updates on these things, because sometimes it becomes challenging filling the forms and all that. So if this time we have done the CPD and we have informed you, and you also have been having challenges with filling the forms and all that. So we are looking forward to you also doing CPDs and then inviting us so that you would also more or less like we will jog and be able to meet each other so that we will do the right thing and you would also have the right information. So this time we have come to your doorstep asking you. We are waiting for the police to also come to our doorsteps and give us updates on what we are supposed to do and what we are doing wrong and all that. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I believe
then let me put in this request, if you've said so. You see, we have a detective training school running. I was there, Dr. Brinford is aware. I've been there, I'll go up and down and court up and down. The training, we have 2 weeks more to do. I want to know from maybe Dr. Christian, Dr. Brinford, which of you is available. we can give you a 1-hour slot for you to talk to the investigator, the detectives, as to what you expect from them.
Yeah. Okay, so please, we'll sit down and discuss it. I'll sit down and discuss it with our president, Dr. Dr. Sribo. We'll discuss it and get back to you.
Yes,
so
at least what the medical community
will, yes.
Yeah, what the medical community
also expects from the police.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. We will respond to this one. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you very much. So, colleagues, I believe that today we have been educated a lot on this police form. There are a few hanging things that we need to, it's not, we cannot answer everything here, but we need to get to the police and do some 1 or 2 streamlining here and there so that there will be peace about this police form. But I believe that we've learned a lot. You cannot refuse to sign. If you think that you are a lower cadre and you need your senior person to sign, you would have to do that. We need to be, when we are writing, we should make sure that it is well documented. We should write the right thing. We should avoid abbreviations because these are expert information that the court will need and will use in favor or against the client. So it's important that we do our part. We're in difficulty. Mr. Sari, we know we'll be calling you all the time when we have any challenge with that, because he says that he is ready and willing, including he giving us his car as well. So thank you very much for this time, and thank you all for making time to listen to. Yes, Dr.
Can I make a small comment? Very important for please. What we did today.
After your comment, then you give us your closing prayer, please.
Okay. So one small thing. In the eyes of the law, when it comes to rape and defilement, these are matters reserved for the court to decide because of the ingredients that ultimately will lead to a judge concluding that, yes, there was rape, there was defilement. Because of those two, when we have cases of alleged rape or defilement, colleagues, as much as possible, let's document whatever we have seen based on the examination and all of it, but we should hasten to conclude that this is rape or defilement. Give all your ingredients, but the pronunciation that it is rape or defilement, that is a matter reserved for the courts. So when it comes to those two, a lot depends on your examination findings and all the bits that you write. But you just don't put a final diagnosis rape, because that one will fall flat. And as Chief said, what we send to the courts comes up in court by way of 2 values. One, it is evidence. But as to the admissibility or the probative value that the judge will place on, that is reserved for the judge. Our opinion, as we say, expert opinion, is also not binding so moto on the judge, but it is to assist the judge in making a determination. So we should be mindful of these particular 2 as and when we have bits around it, because the determination of consent and withdrawal of consent and all those bits, that is not within our purview to conclude that there was rape. But you can give all the ingredients that anybody who reads from the medical end understands that these are the things and is pointing to that. And when you mount the witness box and you give your evidence and you are cross-examined, you explain whatever you did, the judge, he or herself, will decide that, yes, what you have done plus other bits will amount to rape, and then he will give the final verdict. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Youngson, for your contribution, because there was once a case like that, and the medical officer concluded that it was rape. Meanwhile, we had seen, and it was urethral mucosal prolapse. And because the medical officer in a different hospital said rape, the teacher who was accused was put in police custody until he had a lawyer who came to us before we had to. Then we had to go to court and go and defend this teacher before he was released. So it's very right that we do that. We do the right thing. So thank you very much, Dr. Youngson, for this important contribution. But I said you were going to say the closing prayer. So please
no
unmute.
Problem. Once you are done, I will say it.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
So Dr. Christine, Dr. Jansen, Dr. Aisha, Dr. Brefo, I will expect your call concerning
Mr. Sorry, we will call you.
Thank you very much.
We'll call you.
So I'm waiting for Dr. Jansen's prayer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sai, for making time. To yes. Thank you very much.
You're always welcome.
Okay, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Members of this association, even though we got the opportunity to listen to this some time back, we missed it. And with your help, Chief accepted that he was going to be with us. He's been with us. We spent almost 2 hours, and we are grateful to you, O Lord, for all the bits that you have done for us today. We pray that as we return into our rooms, our homes, our offices, depending on where we find ourselves, you will give us travel mercies, guide us, and help all of us to discharge our duties professionally to your admiration. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen and amen and amen. And have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening too. Bye.
Thank you, boss. Thank you, panelists. Bye-bye. Thank you.